Yes, I'm relentless, mountain of sugar, and I keep on rising, the mountain of sugar, and I'm mesmerizing, the mountain of sugar, but don't get me feisty, the mountain of sugar. Yes, I'm too sweet for you, yeah.
Lisa, thank you so much for joining me on my goofy little podcast here.
Thank you for having me.
So I've been a Heavy Feather fan for a while now, and so getting the chance to talk to you and finally talk about Heavy Feather is something I was really looking forward to. And of course, my biggest question for you right now is, how are you handling COVID right now and the whole isolation factor?
Well, that's, I mean, for everyone in this industry, it's a very special situation, of course. But I mean, the band, we're still like working, and we're having like conversations every week. And right now, when we're pretty soon releasing the album, we talk a lot and we work with that. But I mean, without the tours, without the concerts and everything, it's very different. But we're trying to be creative and be active in the way we can, you know.
Right.
So yeah, but I mean, it's like putting your life on a break in some way. So yeah.
You're still moving forward. You're about to put out an incredible record with Mountain of Sugar, which is amazing, which I absolutely love it. And
thank you.
But without the tours and the shows and everything, there must be some sort of like something missing there for you. Like how are you guys gonna get through that? Like, are you gonna do some kind of like virtual performances or something like that?
Yeah, that's what those type of questions. That's what we're like talking about all the time right now, because you can't you can't plan anything because you don't know anything about the future. Of course, we have tours planned, but we don't know if we're gonna come out and do them. So, but I mean, of course, if the situation like in April is still the same, which I think it will be, we will probably do some kind of streaming release show or something. But I mean, that's the tricky part right now, to just try to plan a release in this in this situation. So maybe, like, we talked about it, like, should we wait with the record? But I mean, we recorded it almost like a year ago, and it feels weird as well to just wait because we want to produce new music as well. So
right.
I think when the time comes in April, which is very soon, we'll see what the best way is to take.
It's really been a hard thing for so many bands and artists. You know, I was talking with one of the members of the Finnish band, Jess and the Ancient Ones, and they're doing very much the same thing you guys are. You know, they had a new album planned for this year. They kind of delayed it, hoping that maybe things would get a little better, and then finally they just said, you know, we've just got to put it out, because at that point they were like, we've already got a whole nother album written. You know,
exactly.
So they were just like, we just need to get this out. And if they don't get to tour, they said, you know what, we'll put out another album and then we'll tour for 2 records, like in 2022 or something, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, that's one thing that I, in one way, think it's. I mean, we had a tour in the beginning of last year in February in Germany, and a show in Denmark as well, and right after that, it break out in Europe. So we're lucky in that way that we weren't like, just started a tour somewhere, which some bands that we know did, and they had to go home because they couldn't finish it. So I mean, in some way we've been lucky that we had the chance to wait with the release, and hopefully it will, and I think it will get better and better. But yeah, I think I feel sorry for some bands that just the timing was so bad,
It really was, because I mean, there were a lot of bands that that kind of hit that sweet spot where, bands like Cadaver and, Graveyard and bands like that, who they had just finished tours when COVID was coming in. So they all were back in the studio making records and still getting ready, so they've kind of had that time to hibernate. But for bands that are putting out new music right now, like, I can imagine, because as a musician myself with a band, like when we have new material, the first thing, like, I cannot wait to play it live,
Yeah, exactly.
And so there's got to be that kind of a dampening feel to it.
Yeah.
So how are you guys keeping positive and keeping, from kind of being so down about it?
Yeah, it's ups and downs. For me, I just, like, when this came out and when this got really serious, I think I just decided to focus on other things in life, and I've been on tour for the last 7 years or so with this band and with other bands as well. So free weekends has been very rare,
Right.
So
right.
for me, the first, last year, I was just feeling quite lucky because I could I could hang out with my sister, my twin sister, a lot here in Stockholm. Of course, I couldn't meet my parents that much because of the COVID, but I've been spending a lot of time with my sister and with some of my, closest friends during the weekends. And we had we've been outside during the summer and we had barbecues and everything. And for me, that was very special because I didn't have that time before,
Right, right.
Yeah.
It's totally been an adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's been very nice. But now, and I think it's been different for all of us because, for Matte, the guitarist in Heavy Feather, he's more it was harder for him in the beginning, but now he's more and more, adjusting to the situation. But I'm getting more frustrated. Now I don't want to live like this no more. I want to get out touring. So it's But I mean, you just have to breathe and stay focused in your own way and just hope for better days soon,
And maintaining some level of creativity too throughout all this is so important because it is, if we don't stay creative, then that time just gets kind of heavy on us. And I feel like by trying to maintain some creativity is a big help. And you have no shortage of projects to do. I mean, but with Heavy Feather, and then with the family band, and with the Siena Roots. I mean, one of the things I was so excited to talk to you about is because as a musician, I really admire your ability to maintain this strong blues vocalist sound, but within those 3 different bands, though, it's not like you're hearing the same thing 3 times. There's significant differences between the family band and Heavy Feather and Siena Root. So artistically and creatively, what do you get out of each of those differently? What different things do you get out of each one?
Well, I think when I started with the music and go out do shows and everything, I really was into the bluesy to the blues sound. So the family band was created from that, from that type of influences and everything. And then I got the opportunity to be a part of Siena Root when they didn't have a singer. and that was the first time I really had the opportunity to develop my rock side, you know. So I mean, I didn't have like any. It wasn't like I was planning on, you know, doing something more rocky, you know. It was just like things happen. It's the same with Heavy Feather. When we started, we just wanted to make something. We needed something else, but we weren't sure of what it was gonna be, you know. But I'm happy that you can hear like the differences, because I want it to be like that, but I haven't thought about it that much, you know.
Well, I mean, and as a musician, it's hard sometimes, because especially if you have your own significant, or you know, your own distinctive style of whether or not how you sing or how you play, it's not that easy to go from to doing 3 different types of band, but still having the same voice, if that makes sense, you know. So like I can tell the difference between, you know, Organic Intelligence and the difference between 30 Days. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you know, even though it's that voice, it's the 2 distinctive styles of blues. It's like you've got the kind of like the psychedelic blues, you've got the blues rock, and then you've got just like the straight up nasty blues, you know.
Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice to hear. Maybe I did that, like, maybe I didn't do it on purpose, but I really wanted to, like, when I started to just do some shows with Siena, I wanted to, like, you know, split the bands, the family band and the Siena Roots, so people wouldn't always like think about them together, you know. Like maybe I did it like I don't know, just to try to have a distance from that style, from the family band style to maybe Siena route. But I think it also developed my voice when I started with Siena, because I mean, when I was listening to their songs, they've created the songs in a whole different way than I would have done if I wrote the song. So, and also like the keys in the song wasn't adjusted to me. It was for some of the songs was for a male singer. So, and I don't know if I was just polite or something, but I wasn't asking them to change that much keys, you know, because they have those sitars and everything, and that's complicated. So some songs I just were like, okay, I can do it in the original key. It's okay. And I think that developed my vocals more than I thought it was going to be. So, and I brought that to Heavy Feather as well. So maybe it just changed during this whole musical trip. I don't know.
Well, because one of the things I also admire too is, you know, when you go from doing, say, like Heavy Feather and the family band, where you are, you know, that's like your baby, you know, that's where you are, you know, a songwriter, and then going to say like Siena Root, where, you know, it's already got a core group and you're kind of going in as the vocalist. Is there a little less stress going into it, knowing you don't have to be writing with them, or is it the other way around, where you feel more stress singing songs that have been written by somebody else?
Well, for me, with Siena Root, it felt really, really good to just jump on a train that was already made. It, you know, like they had their vision and they had their songs. And also, like, I mean, Love and Sami, they've been in the band from the start, so they were the artists of Siena Root. I was the singer who jumped in for some tours, you know. Right. And I really like that position in a band, because I mean, I like doing choir jobs as well, because I love being on stage. But sometimes being in the middle of the stage can be a bit stressful.
Right.
So yeah, I like that position.
It's got to be a nice change up too, you know,
Yeah.
you know, because like in my band, you know, I've always been the songwriter in my bands, you know, over the years. And a few years ago, I played in someone else's band as a bass player, and I was like, this is nice. You know, like all I had to do was just show up and play and learn the songs. Like I didn't have to write them. I didn't have to do anything with them, you know, and I was, you know, there's something to be said about that. But at the same time, knowing that you have a creative outlet of your own is kind of nice to kind of go back to when you're ready to have your moment that you want to be creative.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice to like mix it up a bit, to be the creative one with the songs and be in the middle of the stage, but also sometimes take a step back and just be a part of something. And I think like maybe with Heavy Feather it's been something in between those things, because it's not, my name is not the band name. It's not like Lisa Lystam family band. We're Heavy Feather, and we're like, all of us are very creative, and every one of us is having a big part in the band. I mean, of course that's the same with family band, but it's a slight different because it's more of a band feeling. Maybe that's only because of the name of the band, I don't know, but yeah, I really like to be a part of that type of constellation.
See, I really like that too, because I have a really impossible last name to pronounce. It's I'm from New Orleans, so it's a French name. It's De Lamont, and and I was like, I could never have the Don De Lamont band, because for one, no one would ever find me on the internet because they would spell my name wrong. No one could say the name, and I was like, but I don't want to be Don and this. I want to be more of a unit, kind of a unified feeling. And by not having your name in the band, I mean, you can correct me if this is wrong, but like, I feel like by not having your name in the band kind of alleviates some stress off of you, because then not all eyes are just on you, like people are more likely to look at the band as a whole,
I agree. But I think your name is a good name for naming a band. I don't think it's that hard to pronounce, but
well, it's so funny because actually my website is donontheweb.com, because I knew nobody would ever spell Delamont right, so I just said, I'm just gonna Don on the web, that's all it is. You can find me there.
Yeah.
Well, so Mountains of Sugar is about to come out, and like I first heard you guys with Debris and Rubble, which absolutely blew me away. It just it hits all those sweet spots that I love about music. I love good blues rock. I love that kind of. It's almost like I've come to call it the Swedish invasion in a way. Like so many of my favorite bands are from Sweden, and everyone that seems to be doing this style of music. Heavy Feather, Graveyard, Children of the Sun, Lycanthropy, all these bands. Like, so I asked this to a lot of them, but I'm going to ask you. So is there something in the Swedish water that like makes you just kick ass like that? Because I'm hard pressed to find that many American bands that I love, So.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that before. Like, people think that Swedes have some great music. Sweden have some great music, but I don't know. Maybe, I mean, of course, we are in Sweden. We're famous for like the music industry and the bands and everything. And maybe there is something in the water. I don't know.
Well, can you bottle some of it up and send it? Send it to me,
will.
Because I'd love to just drink it one day, just start singing like like somebody from Graveyard, and have like a really cool beard, or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, but it really has been kind of a big Swedish thing, because I've noticed that between Sweden and Finland, like that's where the bulk of my favorite music comes from. But there's a lot of American influence to your sound. Now, does that come from American music in general, or does it come from like the older Swedish rock of the 60s and 70s?
Yeah, I think we're more influenced by like bands from America and England more than like Swedish bands actually. But of course, I've been listening to Graveyard as well, and I love them. But yeah, I can't say that I have listened that much to old Swedish bands. It also, for me, it also feels like this blues rock style has been growing for like the last 10 years more and more here in Sweden.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know, maybe, I mean, we're in Sweden, you're able to go to music schools and it doesn't cost you anything. You can study it here, and maybe that's a good like ground to start on if you want to continue playing music. So, and also we're like, it's an equal country if you talk about like men and women on stage, and we're good at that. So maybe that also is something that is giving this giving the music industry gets it growing,
Yes, no, absolutely. And it's so funny because one of my friends, used to give me he always picks on me. He's like, is there a band that you like that doesn't have a female singer? And I told him, I said, for me, what I love about just female vocalists, especially in this genre of music, Sabata Solid and and Jasmine Sorella from Just in the Ancient Ones, is that I personally feel like that I hear more versatility these days in the female voice than I do in the male voice, because after a while, especially when you're doing all this kind of really boring doom, they all sound the same. Whereas if I heard Heavy Feather, I know that's you. If I hear Blues Pills, I know that's Ellen. And so everything is so distinct. So are you finding yourself, kind of like you said, even though there's an equal balance, are you finding yourself or the female vocalists in general getting more respect from listeners in the industry as opposed to how it used to be?
Well, in some way, yes. But also, I'm lucky. I was born in the 90s, so for me, it's a good generation to be in if you want to get more respected as a woman. But I mean, of course, there's times when you feel that there is a big difference on like how maybe promoters are treating you and your like the rest of the band, the males.
Right.
But yeah, I think, I mean, it depends on how you see it. Of course, it's getting better and better, and it's going the right way, but there's still things to work on,
Yeah, I feel like, especially here in the States also, with all of the ridiculous, that horrible president that we finally got rid of, thank God. And, just respect towards women is something that we've really seen, women coming forward with. But at the same time, it's like you said, it's like, we still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
And I mean, and you rock it just as hard as any guy, so that's all that matters. So, that's, because I don't really listen to like whether or not it's a female or a male voice, to be honest. I mean, like, it just happens that the female voice connects more with me because I'm like, there's more distinction between them, at least, and I enjoy that,
Yeah. And also, I think like people are so used to bands with only guys, and now it's changing, and probably like listeners are probably feeling a need of that change. Like it gives you something.
Well, it's also a different dynamic in music. you know, because you know, I feel like it brings in more range. A lot of times it brings in a certain level of soul, you know, that might be missing. But it's almost like every band I hear that has an incredible female singer that I love, like I couldn't imagine anyone else singing for that band, you know, like it's that distinct to me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with you.
So okay, so I have to ask you, why the blues? Like, where did your obsession with the blues start?
Well, I've always, like, since I was a kid, I loved that type of music, even though I didn't know it was blues music. I just, when I heard songs, I heard an Elvis song that was really bluesy. I just, when I was a kid, I was just like grooving to it, and I really felt it, you know. And then, like, then when I got a bit older, I started to know more about that type of music. And I'm from a very small town in Sweden, and I went up to Stockholm with a friend, and we went to a blues jam. I was 19 at that time, I think. Yeah, it was 10 years ago. And we went to that blues jam, and I was very like certain that I wasn't gonna go up on stage and sing, because I was way too shy to do that.
Right.
Way too shy. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have a beer and I'm gonna listen to my friend, and yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy the vibe. But I was I was forced up on that stage, and I was scared as hell. But when I stood there, it was just the best feeling ever. And after that, I became a nerd. I decided to, you know, listen to blues, learn about blues, try to just become really good at it. And yeah, it was like my mission in life.
I mean, it sounds like it, you know, because you know, for someone who listens to a lot of music, and especially, you know, people kind of come, like you said, coming into like out of this specific genre of sorts. I feel like in some ways I can listen to some band and go, okay, you know what, that's very sincere. Or I can listen to another band and go, okay, they're trying too hard. And the blues from you comes very natural. And girl, you can tear up a harmonica. Like, you know, I can play I can play like Dylan harmonica, you know, when I'm playing the acoustic guitar. But like, I was watching some footage of you just tear it up, and I was like, wow. You know, I was like, we need to jam, you know?
That sounds good. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm learning more and more every day, but it's in one way, it's easier to play harmonica when you're like doing a rock tour, because there's not that many of them, the harmonica players. Because if you do a blues festival, there's harmonica players everywhere, and they're so freaking good. So it feels, I have more confidence if I'm on a rock tour with the harmonica.
Well, yeah, because it's funny, because one of the things I used to do when I was a folk singer just by myself is I would play the harmonica on the rack, you know, that holds the harmonica up in front of your face so you can play guitar and sing. And I remember people would come up to me and they would be so impressed that I could do two things at the same time. And I always tell people, I said, I don't do either one really good. I just do two things okay, you know. But when you do them at the same time, it looks awesome, you know.
Yeah. That's nice. Then you get confidence in the rock, or like maybe also, like you said, like the folk platform, because you can do the Dylan style and people will like it, you know.
Yeah, now when I did it with my band, you know, like people were just like, oh wow, but then when I did it on the folk scene, everyone played that, you know. And so I was just another harmonica on a rack with an acoustic guitar, you know. That's
true.
But I'm like you, I prefer to be in the place where I look like I'm better than I am, you know.
Yeah, exactly. That's where you want to be. So
what do you do to keep keep your foot in the blues? Like, is that all you listen to? Like, do you listen to like a lot of blues, or do you just, or is it something like that was like an influence, but then you just kind of listen to other things as well?
Yeah, today I'm not listening to blues that much. Of course, I have so many friends and colleagues in the blues business. So of course I listen to new music that comes out, and sometimes, you know, when I've had some glass of wine, you know, I put on some like traditional old time blues music, but it's quite rare nowadays. I listen to everything. I can listen to really like commercial music as well. So I'm not that nerdy anymore, but it still is like you said so nicely. Like I have that, the blues is stuck with me and my voice, and I think no matter what I would like sing, what type of styles I would sing, you would hear it, because I was so stuck with it in the beginning, and it won't leave me now.
That's actually really funny, because I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about this, and you know, like I've been playing folk music since, gosh, well, let's see, I'm 47. I've been playing it since I was 23, and you know, it became so ingrained in how I write songs and how I play that even when I put a band together, it was more of like a folk rock band. But I don't listen to folk rock music. I listen to a lot of Iron Maiden and Graveyard and you know Heavy Feather and Lycanthropy, and so like bands that are nothing like how I play. But I mean, I personally think that if I played this kind of music and then only listened to that kind of music, that it'd be pretty boring.
Yeah, I agree with you. And sometimes there's just like, maybe it was also like I listened to it so much that I needed a long break from it. Maybe I will go on and listen a lot in a few years. We'll see. But yeah, I weared it out a bit, I think.
You know, and one of the things I wanted to bring up, because I wanted to ask you about this, was on the album, the song, oh my God, what song is it? Wait, okay, I had it on the tip of my tongue and I forgot it. Asking in Need. Thank you. Okay, I just remembered it. Like, you know, there's a band from Georgia called the Black Crowes who I grew up listening to, who I absolutely loved. And that song to me was kind of a reminiscent of the Black Crowes. So it almost sounded like, to me, it was influenced by a band who was influenced by blues, if that makes sense. So are you a fan of bands like that, like the Black Crowes, where they were kind of like, you know, newer bands, like at least in the past, you know, 20 something years or so, that aren't direct old school blues? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I am. I like those kind of bands a lot, and maybe that's the type of bands I'm listening to today. But Asking in Need was, I have to remember how we like created that song. The only thing I know is that I got stuck with the lyrics, and I asked my brother to just write something. And I just told him, like, I want it to be abstract and hippie.
Right.
And he wrote something, and we didn't thought about it that much. I liked it, and we used it, and with that lyrics it created that kind of, I think, that kind of feeling that you're talking about. And I love to work in that way, because I don't like to overthink stuff too much, you know, because when you do, it gets very serious for me, and a bit hard to sometimes do the songs if you've been thinking it through so much that you're getting like stressed about it. Like, is this really good? This is from me 110%, and this is my feelings and my emotions, and will people like it or not? You know, sometimes it's just nice to go with the flow and just like see see the whole song and not go into details and start, thinking about what you feel and what you come from and everything. I don't know if this makes sense. I'm just talking.
It totally makes sense, because again, one of the things I was gonna mirror with that was that yes, like of the songs that I've written for myself and say like for my band. To me, my favorite ones were the ones that came to me very quickly, where like I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to, I've got songs that I started writing 5, 6, 7 years ago that I never finished. But like even when I go visit them now, I go, well, I don't know what the point is. I'm not in that specific place anymore, but
yeah, exactly.
But if a song comes to me within an hour or two, like I'm ecstatic. That's the one that I love the most, because I haven't had to overthink it too much.
Yeah, I agree with you, and also like those type of songs, for me they're often about things that is not that like dead serious in your life. Many of the lyrics in for Heavy Feather are like stuff from just daily feelings. It's not that deep. It sounds like it, but some of the lyrics are just things I've thought about that day, and I had to write it down.
Right.
And it doesn't get, if you write songs in that way, it's not that hard to get them out. Otherwise it will be just like for you, like you get stuck with the song for maybe years, because it's so close to you and you want to make it right, and then you get nervous about it.
So I have to ask, what is A Mountain of Sugar? Like, is it a place? Is it something like naughty? What is it? I'm trying to figure out what a Mountain of Sugar was, because I love the song, but I'm like, wow, I love that they don't ever really say what it is,
Yeah, that song is exactly what I just talked about, just writing it, because we went on a tour in Germany, and we went to a cool place with a wonderful promoter, a woman in her, like, I think she's like maybe 45, 50 years old or something. And she's like the woman I want to become, she's awesome and so kind and welcoming and everything. And when we were there, and when we after a show, she came up to me and she said, "Honey, you're amazing. You're like a mountain of sugar." And, and that was I got that sentence got stuck with me, because it was weird, but it was like the best compliment I ever had,
That is so fun. Like, I would just be like, if somebody called me a mountain of sugar, I would just be like, that's incredible. I've been called a lot of things, but never a mountain of sugar, So.
And it was like the best sentence, and I kept it in my mind. Maybe I wrote it down, I don't know, but I kept it, and then I was just home, and I was thinking, like, I need to do something with this sentence. And I also had been listening to podcasts about climbers of Mount Everest, and it was just like something in between those feelings. And it's just like a sassy song mixed with those experiences.
Oh, absolutely. In my review, I said something about that the song actually made me feel like you were singing directly at me, which kind of at times made me intimidated. Like, it's almost like I had to look over my shoulder and be like, "Me? Are you singing me?" I
love that.
But that delivery is so incredible. Like, when you can do that, like, is that something that you really aim for a lot, or is it something that just comes natural to like try to sing to the person that's listening?
Maybe that's something the people who listen can answer better than me, because if people think that I can sing to them, like for real, I think they've heard the song in the right way. But it's more, I don't know if I know how to do it. I haven't thought about it. I'm just glad if people feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, because to me, that's what separates background music, you know, from music that deserves and needs to be listened to. You know, like there's plenty of music I can listen to in the background while I'm writing or while I'm doing things, but when I was listening to Mountain of Sugar, like it actually required my attention, which I love that, because there's not a whole lot of music or bands that do that for me. And of course, the ones that do are the ones I listed earlier. But like, there's something to be said about music that can make you kind of look up from what you're doing and go, "Ooh, okay, I feel like she's talking to me, and I feel a little uncomfortable right now," and that's kind of cool, you know. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Wukan. Are you familiar with Wukan from Germany? You know, Fran is a friend of mine, and the song "I'm Gonna Leave You," I told her, I said, I would never want to be the guy in that song ever. You know, like that is like I felt so bad. You know, I was like, but that's the power of song. You know. Yeah,
it is, and the power of a good listener as well, you know. Someone who really listens to the music and give it a chance and hear it and just take it in. But I think also, like, maybe the blues gave me a lot of that too, because if you watch a blues performance, or if you go in just to YouTube and watch an old concert with, like, I don't know, Buddy Guy or Muddy Waters or something, there is so much, you know, true emotions there, I believe. And I've been listening to it that much, so I think also, like, that learned me not to be afraid of maybe showing emotions, and that can be, like, you know, doing ugly faces on stage just because you're into it. I'm happy I learned that, like, from the start, because some musicians are very focused on just look good on stage, you know, just to do their theatrical poses, and
right.
And that's like a wall between the audience and the song. But if you're not giving a shit about how you look and you're just doing it, maybe it's easier to get your music out there for real, you know?
Well, yeah, because at that point, your only concern is the delivery, you know, the performance. Not like, do I look like I'm having my foot stepped on when I'm singing this note, you know? I mean, you know, I look horrible off stage, so on stage, I really don't care what I look like, you know what I mean? Like, I just get up there and just do it. So, you know, but I'm super impressed by what you said about how, you know, because I can imagine that at some point, especially when you're starting out, there's this kind of lack of confidence where you're like, how do I look up here? Do I look like, you know, am I making a weird face? And then, like you said, then you get to a point in your career where you're just like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm just going to do what feels right.
Yeah, and that's like the best thing I know is to watch female musicians making faces on stage, you know, not giving a shit. They just go up there and they're sweating and they're just, like, you know, being into the moment, and that is something that gives me a lot of energy, and I want to, you know, that's what I want to be as well. I don't want to be held back.
No, and that's perfect, because, and I think that comes across also in the recordings, especially with the two albums I've heard Heavy Feather do. Is it harder for you to capture that vibe in the studio when a lot of that vibe that you do live is kind of, you know, you kind of feed off the audience when you're playing live.
Yeah.
If you're in the studio, like, what do you do to get to that place that you are? Because again, one of the things I love about this album is that it sounds live. Like, it sounds like you've put on a performance. So what did you do to get to that place, knowing that you don't have an audience watching you?
Well, for this album, it was probably Erik Pettersson, that was producing it with us. It was his energy and his help that helped me a lot with the vocals, because I'm getting so bored in the studio. I mean, before it, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna go into the studio, it's gonna be amazing. But like after one day, I just want to be finished, you know. Yeah, it's a totally different job to be in the studio or to be up on stage. And I always like, before we're in the studio, I'm so excited, but then when I'm there, the same feeling catch me, like, this is not that fun.
Right.
But maybe that's because it is, just like you said, it is hard to catch the real feeling. But I'm really happy that I got some help with that for this album.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I'm always very critical of my work, and it's hard to listen to it, but I'm happy that you say that you can feel the live feeling, because that's what we're trying to put out there.
I'm just happy to hear another artist say that it's hard to listen to themselves, because I don't ever listen to my own music. You know, like, the minute I'm done recording something and like we put an album out, like, the last time I ever hear it is, you know, when I hear the final mix. I don't really hang out listening to myself. That's kind of weird, you know?
Yeah, and it's also like, you get, like, if it was like when we were mixing this album, it was mostly Matte that was in charge of it, because I know if I was gonna be in that process as well, I was just gonna be criticizing myself and maybe tell them to, but put my voice down a bit, or make it like that, or make it like that, and that would be so like subjective. Like, that wouldn't maybe be the best thing to do for the song. So I already know that, so it's better if I just if someone think it's fun to do that, and if someone is really good at it, it's better that they do it.
I totally agree. Like, once I get done recording, I have to walk away from it, because I'm the same way. Like, you know, and I'm already bored playing the same song for 3 hours as it is. Like, I don't want to have to do it again, so I just don't listen.
Yeah.
You know, well, so I only have a few more questions for you, and these are just some kind of like fun get to know you type questions. So I'm just gonna throw them at you and see what you say. So if you could sing for any band for just one night, who would it be?
Oh, that's hard. For any band.
It could be any band you want.
Oh my god. Any band. See, this is the type of questions I was a bit nervous about, because I get stuck, you know, like, because there's so many like artists that I would be so honored to sing for them, but
It's funny, because I've had a lot of people get stumped on this one, because they say, you know, the same thing. You know, they're just like, they're like, it's a hard one. There's so many. I mean, is there a particular one you've ever dreamed of being like, oh, I would just love to sing with them one night?
Of course, I would have loved to just see Free perform, and to sing for them would be even cooler.
Oh, you could totally kill Paul Rodgers. That's awesome. I could hear that too, actually. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be a cool band to sing for, definitely.
So, what do you think is an album that everyone should own? You know, like if there was a particular record where you were like, I think everyone should listen to this record. Like, what's one of those for you?
I thought about it because I felt that you might gonna ask that.
Oh my God, I'm predictable. This is terrible.
No, it's only because I was nervous about it. Because I mean, I'm boring. I'm not like, listening. I'm not listening to albums like from the beginning to the end.
Right.
I get stuck with like certain songs often, but there is like one record that I've been listening to a lot, and that got me started on this like bluesy style. That was a Swedish guy called Daniel Norgren. And he's quite famous here in Sweden, and I think he's been in America as well. And that is more, his first album is more like, it's bluesy, it's Americana, it's folk, it's a bit Tom Waits type of music, very organic and very like dirty, and he's one of the artists that I've really loved and listened to a lot.
That is super cool. You'll have to actually type his name out and send it to me when we get done, so I can look him up, because I couldn't spell the name. Kind of like my last name, like couldn't spell that. But
I will send it to you.
And I guess the other one of my last questions is, and I love asking this question, is that what song do you always have to sing along with whenever you hear it?
What song? This answer is I'm not proud of the answer, but here it comes.
There's no guilt here. There's no such thing as a guilty pleasure here, Lisa. Like, you just say it. You're in a safe space. Yeah,
I feel that, so that's why I can tell you. Yeah, but there's this song we always play on New Year's Eve, and it always gets me in a wonderful mood, and that is SOS with ABBA. That's typical because I'm a Swede, but I love that song.
That is not embarrassing at all, because first off, ABBA is awesome. Look, I walk around the house singing "Say You'll Be There" by the Spice Girls, and it drives my wife crazy. Like, I love that song. So nothing to be guilty here over.
Okay, good.
Well, I guess finally is that the album's about to come out, and what are you hoping people will get out of Mountain of Sugar when they get it in their collection and they listen to it?
If they've listened to our first album, I hope they will hear the development that we've done, because I hear it. I think this one is better. And I want people to like feel like they're getting into a time machine and just becoming like, or being in that type of 60s 70s mood. But still, I also want people to feel that we're in our 20s 30s. I want them to feel like we're doing it our own way as well, not trying to just be stuck in the past. We're trying to take the past and mix it up with our influences and our lives. So yeah, I want people to hear it like that. Organic music, but a bit modern because it's played by us,
I think that's probably the best way. I couldn't have said it better. Like that it's classic music with kind of a modern spin to it, but it's it's classic type of music, but it's heavy feather. It's not heavy feather trying to sound like the Stones, or trying to sound like Muddy Waters. It's those influences that are put to a band that's right here, right now. It's
nice to hear, and I that's what I hope that people will hear.
Well, I can't wait for everybody to hear it. I can't wait to actually get a physical copy in my hands so I can listen to it down in my basement. And and I'm so glad we had the chance to talk. Thank you for humoring me for so long. I feel like I really enjoyed getting to know you and getting to know about what makes you work and everything. And congratulations on such a great record.
Thank you. It was so nice to talk to you. Oh. You're so kind, and I'm so happy that you've listened and you really that you like our music. That makes me happy.